My name is John Farnsworth. This is a song I wrote entitled Sweet Dreams. It's in memory of my brother James.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back again at Peppe Merolla's Live, Peppe Merolla and Friends. And today is a very special day for me because this artist that I'm about to introduce not only is one of the finest musicians and composer I have ever met in my life. But he's also a very good friend of mine. He's a real friend, and I'm honored to have him on my show. Here it is, the great John Farnsworth. Ciao,
Hi,
John.
Hi, Pepe. How are you?
How are you doing?
Everything is good. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for being my guest.
Oh, thank you for asking me. And before we go any further, send my love to your wife, Oriana, and your two kids, Kiara and Tanya.
And
Nice to see you.
the same thing for you and your wonderful wife and your wonderful family.
Oh, thank you. I'll send that.
Yes, send our love. So, the great John Farnsworth. Why John Farnsworth is a special friend and a special, very special guest to me, and why is it's a very um, why has a special place in my heart. So let's talk about John Farnsworth when we met. But before we do so, I would like to ask you, John, please
Yeah.
tell us about you. What inspired you to be a musician, where you come from, and everything else. People would love to hear that.
All right. Well, I first want to say I saw those videos that you chose. Those were great videos. The first one was a friend of mine, Scott Robinson. He has a film company, and he asked me to do that solo piece. And he asked me to do the tribute to my brother James, who had passed away. And he wanted me to collect all this old footage, all this old black and white footage that my family had over the years. And so he put this together, and it was beautiful what he did. It was a song of mine called "Sweet Dreams," and you got to see me and my brothers in action,
Yes,
and my brother James. And so that was Scott Robinson. And then the next video that you just posted was another great one. In fact, you were on that. That was at Smalls, and Jonah Jonathan videotaped that. That was a
yes.
nice night. That was a nice night, huh, Pepe?
That was a great night.
Yeah,
That
we
was
had
a
the
great night with the great Harold Mayburn,
yes.
DVD, Steve Davis, Paul Gill.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great night, and it was packed. A lot of people loved the music. It was a great vibe. I was sad that night because, if you remember well, that night was the year. Actually, I moved from New York a month before, 2 months before that gig.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah, I flew in. I stayed at your place.
Oh, that was that weekend.
Yes, that was that weekend. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I was playing, but I was missing you already.
Yeah.
The whole band. I says, man, I gotta go back to California now.
Oh
You
my God.
know, my mind was somewhere else.
All right. Well, I guess before we get to the way we met, I'll just say a brief history of myself and my family.
Of
Uh,
course, that's what. Yes,
well, you had my brother Joe on a few weeks ago, and he kind of gave part of the story.
yes,
How we, my mom and dad had five boys. I'm the second one of five, and my father is a band director, music teacher for over 50 years, and he and my mom are still alive and doing great. But we came from a very musical upbringing. We were always hanging out at the high school band room, bugging all the musicians in the band. So we were just always around the music. Um, so eventually, I I'll fast forward to high school, and that's what I knew I wanted to be a musician. My father had been taking us to see concerts like Dave Brubeck, Count Basie, Buddy Rich, Woody Herman. So we were seeing all these great musicians, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it was around freshman year in high school that my mother actually she saw an advertisement for the great Charles Greenlee was living or moving to Springfield, Massachusetts, and a trombone player. At that time, I was still playing trombone. I
we
played
played a
trombone.
tune. We played a tune of his. One of his.
Yes, yes. Well, my mother brought me to his apartment in Springfield, and he is my first real connection to really what you might call New York jazz.
Yes,
Uh, and I actually, let me show you a picture of this guy right here. I see him every morning. Can you see that guy right there?
that's it. Yes,
That's Charles Greenlee on
Okay.
trombone. So that was freshman year, and that's when I first got introduced to real New York jazz. He was talking about Dizzy Gillespie and J.J. Johnson and Curtis Fuller. So that was through high school. I was with Charles Greenlee and Archie Shepp. Max Roach was in the area. And then I went off to senior year in high school. I went to Interlochen Arts Academy for my senior year. And again, I was entranced in just music and meeting phenomenal senior year high school people like Byron Stripling, who has gone on to play with Count Basie and Dizzy Gillespie's band. And he's now the leader of Columbus Jazz Orchestra. So we had quite a high school band. Then I went to North Texas State for college and met great musicians there. And then I decided to finish my college career at Rutgers University because I thought I needed to be near New York City. So I moved to Rutgers for my last 2 years of college. And again, I met great musicians there, including Frank Lacey, Ralph Peterson, Mike Mossman, and not to mention the teachers, Paul Jeffrey, Larry Ridley, Kenny Barron, Ted Dunbar. So I was in amazement of like from North Texas State, where it was like 11 big bands and great musicians, now to one big band, but it was like small group jazz, and it was this New York vibe. So
Wow.
that was a huge turning point. Meeting Frank Lacey was big because I had met. Frank Lacey asked me to go to hang out with Slide Hampton one day when I was still in college. Now I had known Slide for a couple of times, but Frank brought me to Slide Hampton's place and just to hang out and play a little bit. I said, "Wow, this is going to be great." So after that, Slide goes, "Well, we're having a rehearsal tomorrow at the studio, and why don't you come on by? There's a gig coming up, but he has the band already booked, but come on by the rehearsal." Well, I showed up at the rehearsal, and Robin Eubanks was not going to make it to the gig. So I sat in at that rehearsal, and then at the rehearsal, I heard Slide asking everybody in the band. Steve Teray was there, Frank Lacey was there, Clifton Anderson was there, and I heard him say, "Well, how was he? How was he?" And I heard everyone say, "He was cool. He was cool. He was cool." So then Slide asked me to do this gig with the World of Trombones, the most prestigious trombone band in the whole world. I was in college, and that was a turning point for me. That was my first major gig.
Well, but you have to also mention that before you played a saxophone player, you're talking about when you were playing trombone.
Right. I was
Yeah, because ladies and gentlemen, the great John Farnsworth not only is a great tenor saxophone player and composer, but he started as a trombone player. He had been playing professionally as a trombone player, also with Aretha Franklin. Is that correct?
Yes. Aretha came a little bit later, actually, probably about 15 years later. After college, I went to New York, moved there, and immediately started working with Latin bands. And then I saw an advertisement that Frank Foster was having an open rehearsal with this loud minority big band. So I said, "Oh, this is great! The great Frank Foster's having an open rehearsal. I can go check out Frank Foster and maybe jam with Frank Foster." I was so naive. So I go to the rehearsal, and I didn't know that an open rehearsal meant, well, we could go and watch him rehearse his band. But I had my trombone with me. So I'm going to watch Frank Foster's big band at the Jazz Cultural Theater. And in walks all these heavy guys, the Frank Foster's loud minority band. Same thing happened. So there was one trombone player who wasn't there that night at the rehearsal. Frank goes, oh no, actually then Mike Guerrier, the trombone player that was with Slide Hampton's World of Trombone, so I met like a year before, he was there. So in Frank's band, so Mike goes, "Hey, Frank Foster, ask John Farnsworth to sit in, fill the chair until someone gets here." So, oh my God. So I sit in, and the same thing happened. Frank, after the rehearsal, "Hey man, we got a gig next week, two nights down in Brooklyn at Lower Manhattan." I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." And so it was like, it's like, and that's how New York works. Like you go there and you show, and then you do your best. And sometimes things just,
Just happen. Yeah.
they
Keep
just happen
rolling.
like that. So
Things keep rolling.
things keep on rolling. Let me show you a picture of Frank Foster. Here's Frank Foster. Can you see Frank?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Frank Foster. Here's Slide Hampton up here. You see Slide?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was early on in New York City. I'm doing Latin gigs. I'm playing with Frank Foster's band, Slide Hamptons, and New York City. New York City was a vibrant time then. Things keep on going. There's big bands, Toshiko Akiyoshi's playing. I've got friends from North Texas State that are playing with Toshiko. Conrad Herwig, a great trombone player. So I started subbing in Toshiko's band. Then I joined her band for a couple of gigs. And that's how it's like friends get other friends gigs. It's really for my career, that's how it's always happened. It's like friends got me gigs, but I had to be there to know about it. But the word of mouth, like Frank Lacey got me with Slide Hampton's band. Like Mike Guerrier pulled Frank Foster's coat that got me into Frank Foster's band. Conrad, Toshiko. So the list goes on and on. And
Wow.
so, yeah, from there, I went on. I got asked to go with Glenn Miller Orchestra, the world famous Glenn Miller Orchestra. So I did. I joined that band because of a friend. He called me up and said, "John, can you get your passport together like right now? We're going to Japan tomorrow."
Hey,
And
no, before you go on, hold on. I'm sorry if I interrupt you, but there is Elise saying, "Hey, New Jersey here, right here."
hi, Elise.
Ciao, Elise.
Hi,
Mwah.
Elise.
And we have Angelo Calabrese from Naples, Italy. By John,
Angelo.
by Peppe. Ciao, Angelo. Guys, I just want to remind you, if you guys have any question, you just want to say hi, meet John, talk to us. Don't feel shy. We are here to interact with all of you. If you guys have any question, any question, you can ask. Feel free to drop a beautiful smiley face and say hello. So, I'm sorry.
So
Go
I
ahead. Go ahead,
so yeah
John.
so, yeah so I was with Glenn Miller for a year and a half. We traveled. The band was out for 50 weeks out of the year. We traveled every state in the country. We did Japan. It was just nonstop. And after a year and a half, I said, okay, that's it. I got to quit now and move on. I quit, went back to school, got my master's degree, and then at UMass, University of Massachusetts. And then I moved back to New York City, where I started working right away again basically right where I left off. I joined Illinois Jackets band. We did a world tour with him. He's a great tenor saxophonist from Texas, Illinois Jacket. And it was around that time that I switched over to tenor saxophone. And so I was still playing trombone. And my
Now,
brother,
question:
yeah.
what it made you switch from trombone to saxophone? Why?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but the short answer is that I was getting frustrated with the instrument. There were some technical things on the instrument that I could not get past. And
No, the reason why I'm asking is because talking to Frank Lacey and talking even with Steve Touray,
yeah.
those guys, they told me that you were a killer trombone player. So what is it that in your mind you couldn't, you felt like you couldn't achieve something? I don't know. Maybe that would be a motivation for you to keep on practicing. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
every now and then I pick it up. But you know what? Then I fell in love with the tenor saxophone.
Okay.
My mind thought, okay, well, there's some things on the trombone that I was not able to get to, and I said, well, tenor saxophone. And my brother James, at this point now, he was out with Ray Charles Orchestra. He's on the road playing baritone sax with Ray Charles. And at that time, he left his tenor sax at my apartment. And I thought, well, tenor saxophone, tenor trombone, how different can it be? I didn't know because when I grew up, you heard Joe tell you the story. Joe was in a room with my brother David, also a drummer, and James was always playing saxophone, and I'm playing the trombone. I never touched his saxophone. I never had any inclination to play saxophone. But at that time, in the early '90s, mid '90s, I thought, man, maybe I should try this tenor saxophone. So I pick it up, not knowing anything about it, and eventually, it was like it came actually kind of quickly. Within about 6 months, it was New Year's Eve, and I'm playing a New Year's Eve gig with Leroy Williams on drums, Richard Wyans on piano, and a good friend of mine on bass. Now I wasn't very good, but I was able to play some melodies, and it just practice. That's what it was: practice. And
Yeah.
I mean, all my friends were like, "What are you doing, man? You're a trombone player. You're picking up saxophone now." But and at that time, Joe he was starting to get that weekly gig at Augie's, and he was hiring like Junior Cook and Cecil Payne, Harold Mayburn, and all these big names. And I'm still playing trombone too, but I'm standing next to Junior and Cecil. So it was those Augie's days were, so valuable just to get exposed to. I mean, Joe had that gig for a long time on Fridays and Saturdays, and my brother James and Jim Rotundi had Thursday nights at Augie's. So we were playing all the time. And if I wasn't playing in another big band or doing club dates or Latin gigs, we were at Augie's, just playing and jamming all night long.
Right.
And then Augie's closed, and then that's when Smoke opened. And now we're coming to your part of the history.
No, this is it's a wonderful story. I love the way to find out. I love to find out how people started it, and I always ask that who motivated you and everything else. You have because for what I know, even before I was coming to New York, before us when I came in, ladies and gentlemen, you guys need to know that the great John was running a jam station, one of the best. Hold on a sec. Wait a minute. One of the best jam station in New York City at Smoke Jazz Club.
Thank you, Pepe.
This was one of the best. Period. I mean, there was so many places, beautiful places, great jazz club. But the one, at Smoke, to me, that's part of the Smoke Jazz Club history. For how long did you run that jam station for?
Well, it was Smoke opened in 1999, and so it's going on just 20 years. I started it in 2000, and then I stopped doing the jam session, I think 2017. So I didn't quite make 20 years, but it was every Monday night for the first 15 years. And then I switched over to every other Friday night for a few years. But it was at those first 15 years, whereas every Monday, I was allowed the great opportunity to meet and play with some of the world's greatest musicians. Each week, I had to organize a band. We'd play for 2 sets at the start, and then I'd run a jam session that would go till 5 in the morning. Back in those days, in fact, the first set didn't even start till I think 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So our band would play like 2 sets, and then the jam session would start about 3. And eventually it got earlier and earlier and earlier. But it was always, on drums, my brother Joe was there at the beginning. Joe Strasser was sometimes there. Victor Lewis, just anybody who was around I could call. On piano, Harold Mayburn, Mike Ladon, Rick Germanson. Bass, John Weber or Dwayne Burno or Paul Gill. It was, and then I always have a special guest, and that's what I think made it kind of exciting, especially for me. I would try and hire another special guest, another horn player, and it'd be usually a trombone player or a trumpet player. So I would advertise, okay, the John Farnsworth Quintet with special guest featuring Dr. Eddie Henderson on trumpet. And then I get that great rhythm section, and have Dr. Eddie Henderson's music prepared for like 2 sets, and then we would do a jam session. So it'd be either Eddie Henderson or Danny Moore, Jim Rotundi, maybe Joe Magnarelli. And then later on, it was like Jeremy Pelt and Dwayne Eubanks.
No, I remember very well because the very first time when I moved from West Coast to New York, East Coast, the very first time I came, at Smoke, that's what was going on. I saw your band with a special guest, and I don't know if you remember, but the very first time I came, 2001, to New York City, that's when we met.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went back to West Coast to take care of some business. Then I couldn't take it. I mean, I came back again. I moved back to New York
Yeah.
in 2000 and I think it was 2005. Yeah, 2005.
You often ask me about that first time. I don't really recall that first couple of times meeting you in 2001. It was when you came back after that, around 2005.
Yes, 2003.
Yeah.
I came back. Then 2005. Yes.
So I'm at Smoke, and on a Monday night I show up early. I'm the first one there always, and then the band starts showing up, and we start to play, and then I see this guy sitting over there in the corner, and the next week, same thing, same guy over there, and then he'll introduce himself after 3 or 4 times. Hey John, this is Pepe. Hey Pepe, nice to meet you.
Yeah, we met outside. We met outside during the break. We met outside, and there was what's his name? The short guy. What's his name?
Jose.
Jose. Which I love, and then we became a great friend. Was Jose right next to you? And I went outside to smoke a cigarette, and I introduced myself. Yes, go ahead.
Well, so it must have been this routine was going on for probably 6 months, for a long time, and then we started becoming friends. I mean, pretty good friends actually, pretty quickly. And you reminded me that it was like this went on for almost 2 years before I asked you to play the gig at Smoke. Now,
before you asked me, and the reason why you asked me, you said that night, I never forget that, because I was there for 2 years, and the reason why I never asked for a gig, first of all, because I wanted to learn the repertoire, and I wanted to make sure, that things would be settled down in a certain way if it ever happens that you would hire me to play. Actually, I was surprised. I said, "Are you sure you want to hire me for next week?" I'm coming anyway. I said, just hire a guy. I'm coming back anyway. And you said, no, I want you on the gig. Yeah. That's what I said. But I was there for 2 years listening. Yeah. And, just like I did at Orlibs in Philadelphia. At the same time, that 2 years, on a Tuesday night, I was at Orlibs Jazz House because they had a jam session on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And on Monday night, I was in New York, checking out those two places and learning the repertoire, meeting the people, learning the music, and watch, because I believe that, to me was important. And that's what I did. And you asked me that night for the very first time.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember my brother Joe. It was basically my brother Joe's gig. Whenever he was around, it was his gig. And then if he didn't do it, it might be Joe Strasser or Victor Lewis.
Yes.
Great musicians. And then Joe couldn't do it one time. I said, well, Pepe, I want you to do it. And then a lot of the guys like Mike Ledon and other people didn't really know you yet. And I said, well, okay, I had to really introduce you around at that point. I said, Pepe, you got the music, let's do it. And really the rest is history, because you came in there and you knew all the repertoire, and everyone's like, oh my God, who is this guy Pepe? And I mean, you're a great player, a great guy, and great musician, and everyone fell in love with you. And then,
well, I always said it, and I will always say that I'll be grateful. But most of the things that I have done in New York, and still that I'm able to do nowadays, is because of John Farnsworth. You're the one who introduced me to Arnold Mayburn. You're the one who introduced me to Frank Lacey. I mean, everyone that and then I went on my own, on my own. But I
Yeah.
gotta say it that you were the one who really opened up the door for me, in the New York scene, in the New York scene, jazz scene. Yeah, you were
Well,
the
you did it in my mind. You did it the right way. You were not asking me or not begging me for a gig. And
never.
I have to tell you, as a leader in New York City for all those years, it would really upset me when someone would come up for the very first time of meeting me, for the very first time coming to New York, coming to that jam session, say, hey, John, I'm new in town. Can I play next week? I said, what are you will play next week? I got a whole long list of drummers that I'm gonna hire before I hire you. I have no idea who you are, but it's just the unethical way of trying to get a gig, and you did it the right way, and
I paid my dues.
you paid your dues. Yeah, well then since then, man, we went on. We played at Smoke countless times. You brought me to Philadelphia countless times. You brought me to Italy 3 times on tour.
But no, do you remember? You remember we were doing the Smoke Monday night. We For a while we did like 2 or 3 nights like that at Orleans. We got Eddie Anderson
Yep.
at Orleans Jazz Up. We got Steve Turre
Right.
with Steve. We were doing the Monday night New York and the Tuesday night Philadelphia
Yeah.
with the Philadelphians.
Right. Yeah.
That was a good time. That was a good time, and it was a great idea. Try to combine this bridge between New York and Philly. It was a great time. In fact, if you remember when you came to those few times that we played in Philadelphia, we've been there many times anyway. But you also met Mickey Rooker. We had a dinner with Mickey.
That's right.
The boys' night.
And that was a highlight of my night too. I mean, I grew up listening to Mickey Roker on some of his beat was just so incredible. And then you were telling me how you're friends with Mickey Roker, and I said I didn't know Mickey. And then I never met him before. He goes, okay, well let's come. We're gonna have a boys' night. We're gonna go eat dinner at Mickey's house. And
Yeah, that's true. We had a great time. I still have those videos. Those videos are part of our history, man. Mickey was a wonderful guy. Was a wonderful human being. He was a gentleman. Mickey Rooker was very deep person, very nice. And actually, there was like 4 of us, and we said it's gonna be just us, nobody else. In fact, no one ever came to that dinner thing, the boys' night. You were the only one. I said, I'm bringing my brother.
yeah.
He said, whatever you do is good with me, man. We had a great time.
Well,
And
I have to tell everyone who's watching what kind of a guy you are as far as like organizing. I mean, just taking care of business. Like you're doing these videos, which everyone knows about, but how you're able to organize tours. You would bring bands from New York. You would go and bring them to Italy and set up the whole tour yourself. We recorded a CD because you set it up yourself.
yeah.
And just you're take charge, and it's something that I'm trying to learn from you how to do that better.
As you know, just like you, I come from a family, artistic family. So my mom and my father, they come from theaters. They come from those places where in the theater, if someone in the band, an actor or a singer, comes 5 minutes late, he's going to pay a fee. I mean, that's where we come from. Be precise, be about business, professional, no mistake, impeccable. So that's why sometimes people they say, hey man, Peppe's too hard and this and that. It's not that I'm too hard. It's like what it takes to just follow the rules of being a professional musician. Be professional, be on time, be there. That's where I come from. And you know that because you come from an artistic family. They're all in the business.
Yeah.
That's a great advantage. But we had a great time, actually. Stick with me. Stick with me, the CD. That was a good time.
I got it right here.
You still? That's it. That's it.
That's Pepe's record, and he did me the honor of actually recording a bunch of my songs too.
Yeah.
Ferris Wheel, Junior, Marbella is the Charles Greenlee song you're talking about.
Yeah.
Cry for Understanding, Mawson, and you have your song Naples on this. It's a great song.
I don't know if you remember, but I told you outside, guys, this is funny because we were outside smoke, and I always told him in the first place, I said, man, your compositions, I feel like they're mine. You remember that?
Yeah.
I said, when the way they sound, I love them so much, that much, that I feel like I wrote them. Like they're my own songs. And it goes like, really? I said, yeah. And I said, guess what? I'm going to tell you this. I said, one day I'm going to be recording all of your tunes. Did I say that?
You said that. I didn't believe it.
And I did it.
You did. You sure did.
I did it, and it was great. Actually, the CD went well. The music is great. We had a great time. We went on tour we did New York gigs, CD. We did Philadelphia. Then we went to Europe, in Italy. We had a great time. And well, I will promise you another thing now. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
There you go. No. Last night I was thinking, because I was making this video presentation and I heard Unchained Melody.
Ah, right.
And then everything started coming back to me again, ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, I need to record this music and I'm going to make it happen. I don't know when, because our CD Happy Times just came out.
Right. Yeah.
Which, we did that together. And, but eventually, after I'm done promoting Happy Times and, play some gigs and whatever, I think I'm going to come up with something in New York that I'm going to come down for maybe a week or so.
Yeah.
And, we're going to put some music together. Unchained Melody is one I want to do. I want to record. I want to go back to the roots.
Yes. Well, the reason why I did that Unchained My Heart was because of my brother James.
Unchained My Heart. I said Unchained Melody. Yes.
Again, being with Ray Charles. So that's my kind of another tribute to him.
Yes, because your brother played with Ray Charles, right?
He did. I think it was somewhere around 7 years. Yeah, he had after college he did a cruise ship for a while. Then he did Artie Shaw's band, and then he went with Ray Charles.
So that was after Steve Turre.
What's that?
Was after?
Yeah. James was Turre was, I think, in the 70s. I think
In the 70s. Okay, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Wow. So he did play with Ray Charles.
Yeah, 7 years.
I was talking to Joe about your brother James, and I was telling him the story. The very first time you played a record at Smoke.
Yeah.
I think Smoke's supposed to pay me some money. Hi, Paul. Stash. I'm mentioning your club all the time here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Smoke. I love Paul and his family. They're great people. So anyway, I remember that night after the gig, you played a piece from your MP3 player, and it was James playing saxophone. I don't know if you remember that. And I said,
I do remember that.
And I said, John, this guy does not sound like a 30 years old or 35 years old.
Yeah.
This sounds like he's 75.
Yeah. He said, that's your brother? He said, that's an old soul there. You said that. That's an old soul.
That was my first word that came out of my mouth.
Yeah, you couldn't believe it.
No. Now I know why. So see the connection. It's all related to the music.
Yeah.
Why he was with, he had the opportunity to play with such great people like Ray Charles and other people, because his sound relates to that generation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You know,
we were always groomed. We were always groomed. Those to have respect for our elders. Like, and he would like Pepper Adams and Cecil Payne, just like you heard Joe talk about Art Taylor and Billy Higgins.
yeah,
Just like you heard me talk about Slide Hampton and Frank Foster and Curtis Fuller. It's like those
yeah,
are the guys. Those are the masters.
yeah. I got a question for you, John.
Yeah.
Uh, since I'm sure there's a lot of drummers that they're following us right now, since I also shared on some drum, drum groups and drum channels on the platform. You, as a musician, as a composer, what would you suggest or advise to drummers to be able to, you know, what do you suggest? What kind of advice would you give to the upcoming drummers? What is the main thing that a composer, a musician, a band leader will require as a composer to for a drummer?
Well, I'll quote my brother Joe. He says, "Emit, emit." That
Time.
means time backwards. Have the time. The dang dang a dang dang a dang dang a dang dang a dang dang, and just keep that dang dang a dang. Don't get all fancy. Me as a horn player, I don't want to hear all this fancy stuff. I mean, that can come, but yeah, that's got to be the root. I know that my brother Joe says that he says he can just do that all night long. Dang dang a dang dang a dang dang a dang dang a dang all night long. He loves to swing like that. Now, can you imagine that? I mean, can you imagine some of these young drummers doing that all night long, not budging from that? I mean, in all tempos, dang 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 dang, or dang 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 dang, but just that beat the whole time, they would think it's boring. And there's nothing boring about finding that beat.
No, no, no. Actually, people who say to me is like if people say that's boring, that means they don't want to do their homework.
Yeah,
They're lazy
yeah,
because it takes a lot of. First of all, you have to get into the music, and you have to listen to what's happening around you
yeah,
in order to say, why should I? It's all about the conversation, as you know. The left hand will come in, yes, because because of the interplay. But
yeah,
like you said, timing is the most important thing.
yeah. And I say that, and people might think that everyone says that that's the most important thing, but I can tell you that when I'm playing with my brother Joe, and some of the differences that happen when I play with other drummers. Now you're like Joe too, though. You can keep that time going, but it's when somehow that drummer is able to support it and keep an energy level going through that dang 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 dang, and it doesn't get soggy. It doesn't get like rushing. It doesn't get there's a beat, and it's a buoyant beat, and it keeps the soloist keeps me like there's always energy behind it.
Yeah.
And it's like the best drummers, you included, have all that. Have that. I love playing with you and Joe because I never feel like I have to create the energy because it's there. It's like this behind me. There's this whole uplifting, dang dang a dang dang a dang. It's pushing.
At
It's pushing.
least, at least find one.
Dang, that's one. Dang.
So, and so now, okay, hold on, wait a minute. We have to also talk about something very important because,
Yeah.
see, to me, what you're doing right now is the most giving thing on the planet that a human being can do. Why? I'm going to explain. I'm going to get there because
Okay.
I know a lot of musicians that they say, you know what, man, I'm not going to be teaching. I don't want to teach. I just want to play, which is great. That's a choice.
Yeah.
But I see you that you're still playing with your band, you're still composing, you still be able to write music and find the time. But on the top of that, you are giving so much to kids, which that's what we need. And you're teaching, right? You're teaching to little kids. I saw the videos. So beautiful, man. That's great what you're doing.
This is my, I just finished my 5th year teaching public school. I'm in public school teaching kindergarten and grade 1 kids. I have 300 kids a week that I teach. There's like
Those kids are very lucky to have you.
15 classes. I push my piano into a classroom. We go through some solfege routines that I've devised for that age group. And then they sit around me and we do some songs and we do some rhythms and some clapping. And the kids, they give me so much joy. As much joy as I can give them, they give me double back. Just have those little eyes light up and smile and sing beautifully for me. And it's been a joy that I never thought I would, because my father was a music teacher, and we always joke growing up that Joe and James, we would say, "Oh, we're not going to do what Dad did. We're not going to teach." Well, we had no idea the joy that he that he received from the kids, and now finding myself in that position where I'm teaching just like my father. You're right. It's a joy that I never thought I would ever get.
And I'm glad you're doing it because, as you know, I'm back to school myself. I'm
Mhm.
back to school. I'm 50 years old. I'm taking classes, to finish my degree. And, I am, I'm a teacher. I practice. I'm a husband. I'm a father, just like you. And it takes a lot of a sacrifice, man. It takes some courage, really, some guts to be able to go back, sit down, in, in the chair with the young people, which I love.
Yeah,
They keep me younger,
yeah,
and I thought, I would have feel like uncomfortable going back to school and, sitting down with a 20 years old or 23 or whatever.
yeah,
Actually, you know what? It's the other way around. I find out that those kids, they ask me questions and say, man, what do you think? Because of the wisdom, the experience,
yeah,
if I have to write an essay or whatever, I see that those guys that were born here, I'm not even, I wasn't born. I'm proud to be an Italian with an American citizenship. I'm very proud to be Italian and American, you know. But those guys that were born here, that English is their primary language.
right.
And they turn around and say, man, in USA, the content is so deep and so beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And I feel like, man, this makes me feel good. Like, I
Yeah,
thought it was the other, I thought maybe those guys, they would make fun of me or something.
yeah, yeah,
No, it's not true. It's not like that. And it's a great thing. And eventually, the reason why I'm going back to school, John, is because eventually I'm forward seeing the future, the online teaching. And it's been already 7 years that I've been pushing on online teaching because I like to give. I like to get, I like to give. I like to share music. Music is about love and sharing, and and eventually, why not teaching full time when I'm done? Traveling or playing gigs or maybe taking gigs that I don't like to go to. You know, I can say, you know what? Here it is. I'm going to be teaching and enjoy the teaching, which I think what you're doing, man. I saw those videos, the face of those kids, they
yeah,
glow, they're laughing, they're happy, and
yeah.
that's beautiful, man. I wanted to really congratulate you because not many people is doing that. Not many people maybe has the courage of saying, I'm gonna just like lay back for a minute from playing
Yeah.
and give something your experience to those young kids. Those kids are very fortunate to have you,
Well,
really.
thank you for saying that. For those of you that are watching, go to my Facebook page, John Farnsworth, and look at there's some videos posted what Pepe is talking about, and you'll see what like these kids are sitting in front of me, like 25 kids, just singing their hearts out, or at a big concert where there's 300 of them up there singing just beautifully, and they're just smiling ear to ear. And the advantage on the concerts, my father comes down, my wife Elise plays guitar, my brother David, the older brother, he plays drums. So like a family band, and the kids, they I mean they're 5 and 6 years old. They've never played with a real drummer, a real saxophone player, a real guitar player, a real piano player before. A lot of these concerts nowadays, it's all programmed. they're singing to the tracks. I bring the live music to them, and so the district loves it, the kids love it, and I love it.
No, besides this, let's. Elise, are you watching? Is that Elise watching right now?
I think she is. I think she's upstairs. I hear the foot. I hear the.
If she is watching right now, let's see. If she is watching right now, I would like to take the opportunity. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, good. I'd like to take the opportunity to say hi to Elise, and not only. We should mention that Elise also has a CD out.
Yeah.
Because when Elise started it, when she first started it,
start playing music, right?
Started playing music and guitar, and now she got a CD out. I can't believe it. How far she went, man. It's how And I heard the record, I heard the CD, and I heard the CD. It's fantastic.
Let me show you a picture of it.
No, you don't. Oh, okay. I just sent her an invitation, Elise. If you are watching, check your messenger. Check your messenger because you can join us for. That's it. That's the one. I just sent you an invitation to join us, Elise. If you're watching from your phone, use your phone. You can join us for a second. That way I can say hello. And you can talk about this record that you guys made. Also, John.
Oh, here she comes. I hear patter. Right now. Here she comes.
Oh.
Here she comes. Here she is. Hi,
Peppe. Hear this. Elise Farnsworth. Here she is. Mwah.
I miss you. Easier to walk down the stairs.
Okay. So never mind, because I thought you were upstairs. I sent you an invitation, but it's okay. If you're there, you're cool. But would you tell us about this record? How it came about? When did you decide to record? And this is wonderful. I heard some of the tracks on Spotify, and it sounded great. I loved it.
Thank you. Well,
yes.
Yeah. So like you said, I started playing guitar about 10 years ago or so. And, I've always been a lover of music and a lover of music. So I've been around it my whole life, but I started actually writing some songs and working through them and decided I was playing with a band and I was like, John was a big inspiration. He made his records and he had his songs and I want to do that too. So I thought I'd work through it. I actually asked John to work on some of the songs with me. So he's featured on 2 of the songs and got a band together and went to a real recording studio and made it happen. So.
And John, I'm sure Joe collaborated too, right? Were you part of the production?
Yes, I was. I played sax on 2 of the songs and I wrote some of the music out. But it was pretty much all Elise. It really.
So, what is the name of the CD, Elise?
Turn Her Up.
Turn Her Up. That's it. Put it on and turn it up.
Well, thank you for including me in this.
No. Check this out.
Enjoying this.
Quote it. Put it on and turn it up. So, John, thank you, Elise. That's low. Ciao. So, going back to John.
Yeah.
Now, how many records you have out? People need to know. People need to find out about your music. If you guys did not get, besides Stick With Me, hold on. Stick With Me and Happy Times, that you guys can check out John, some of his composition. But John also has other records out. So would you please tell us? That way people can just go on iTunes or, whatever.
I actually don't have that many out of jazz. I have this one. It's Smoke.
Smoke. And you also have Let's Go.
And these that features different bands from the Monday nights.
Yes.
Eddie Anderson, Frank Lacey's on this, Jim Rotundi, Steve Davis, Mike LaDon, Dwayne Bruno, John Weber, and Joe Farnsworth. This one I really like. The Good Life.
Oh man, I love that song anyway. Yes, that's it. I didn't know about that one. This just came out, right?
No, this has been a while ago, but this features Steve Toure and Eddie Henderson, and again Joe Farnsworth on drums.
See,
Yeah,
Unchain My Heart, The Good
yes.
Life. Those is going to be the next. Stick with us.
Stick with me.
Stick with us. Stick with me too. The Revenge. And what about Skull? You also have another record called Skull, right?
Yeah. My first one. Let's go.
That's it. You guys check this one out.
Let's go.
It's also a great record, this one. Let's go.
Yep.
Jim
Montendi and Dave Gibson on trombone.
Yeah.
Peter Washington, the great Peter Washington on bass, and again, Joe Farnsworth. Dave Hazeltine on piano.
Well, John, anything else you wanted to mention? We talk about us when we met, your story, when you started as a trombone player and then end up to be a great saxophone player. We talk about the jam session at Smoke, which that's, to me, it's a remarkable memory.
Yeah,
in my heart, because I gotta say that, thank you. Thanks to you, man. I really got connected. That's what got me started. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I thank you too, Pepe, for all the experiences that I've enjoyed because of you. Taking me around the world in Italy and even like down to Philadelphia and all over the East Coast.
We had a great time. And also we talk about your, teaching, which is great what you're doing. And again, those kids are lucky to have you. Because I haven't seen a lot of teachers, music teachers, and I know some about it because, I got two daughters, and the music teacher at school, they're kind of, they're sad. I mean, really sad. So that's why I said, anyone right now that is, is listening, the parents, if they ever listen to this, those kids are very lucky to have such a great musician like John be teaching their kids and giving all the story, the experience, and the music, and the knowledge, the educational part, the whole thing. They got the whole package right there. Not easy to find. We talk about your records. We talk about Elise.
Yeah.
What can I say? I'm moving back.
We talked about my family, how important they are, my mom and dad and my brothers. And
yes.
Elise, yeah. And now, music is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Even in these down times right now, how much joy I find every day by going down to this practice room right here and picking up my saxophone and playing music. Like I feel joy every day, even though amongst all of this craziness that's going out there, music does bring joy. And how lucky we are to have it.
Oh yeah, can you imagine people who play no instrument, who has no passion like we do, being at home without, doing anything, how boring can be. At least we can pick up the instrument or pick up a pen and write some beautiful composition and feel creative, producing, productive, So we are very lucky, John. We are. So I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you, and thanks for being a guest on my live. I should say live show, right? Because if live, it's a series. 2 or 3 times a week, I get a special guest. So far, I've been very fortunate to have some wonderful friends and great musicians because I only invite people that I love and that I'm friends with. See, that's the thing. That's why I say Peppe Merolla and friends, but not for something, because I'm not a guy who interviews people. To me, this is more like, a way to communicate and interact with my friends and have other people from the outside world, be able to hear our story, to know about us, and to interact with us. That's all it is. I'm a musician, so I miss all of you guys, and I invite all of you. I'm very fortunate, and I'm thankful for all of you for believing in this project and in trusting me, which it's a plus to me. Thank you, John.
Keep it up, Pepe. You're doing a great job. I love you and I miss you.
I miss you. I'll see you soon. As soon as we
Okay.
be able to travel again,
Yeah.
I'll be there.
All
Much
right.
love. Ciao, John. So, ladies and gentlemen, and this was John Farnsworth. Again, thank you, all of you guys, for watching. And I will see you next time on my live show with a different guest, which is a surprise. I'm not going to say that. But thank you, John Farnsworth, for being my guest. Thanks to all of you for watching. We love you. Keep on drumming, keep on playing music. Music is life.
My name is John Farnsworth. This is a song I wrote entitled Sweet Dreams. It's in memory of my brother James. Mm-hmm.